You know, the majority leader has said, oh, the problem wasn't the private sector. He said it was the public sector, the government. Government's doing just fine. It is the private sector that's lost over 1.5 million private sector jobs since February of 2009 through September of 2011.
I thank my friend. There's also included in this package is the Employment Protection Act introduced by Senator Toomey. It requires the EPA to analyze the impact on unemployment levels and economic activity before issuing any regulation, policy statement, guidance document, endangerment finding, or denying any permit. Each analysis is required to include a description of estimated job losses and decreased economic activity due to the denial of a permit, including any permit denied under the Federal Water Pollution Control Act. Senator Johans has contributed the Farm Dust Regulation Prevention Act, prevents the EPA from regulating dust in rural America while still maintaining protections to public health under the Clean Air Act. The National Labor Relations Board reform, which is introduced by Senator Graham of South Carolina. From backdoor card check to threatening jobs in South Carolina, the out-of-control National Labor Relations Board is paying back union officials at the expense of worker rights and jobs. To create more jobs, legislation prohibiting the NLRB from stopping new plants and legislation to prevent coercive, quick-snap union elections should be passed. I'm sure that my colleagues are very well aware of the unprecedented and incredible action by the NLRB that basically prohibited a major corporation, aircraft manufacturing company from locating in the state of South Carolina, where it is a right-to-work state. Unbelievable overreach by a federal bureaucracy which is still staggers the imagination, but it also shows that elections have consequences. There's also the Government Neutrality and Contracting Act, and it repeals the President's order requiring government-funded construction projects to only use union labor. This would reduce costs of federal jobs projects by as much as 18%. And that was Senator Vitter's contribution. Senator Shelby has introduced Financial Regulatory Responsibility Act. It requires financial regulators to conduct consistent economic analysis on every new rule they propose, provide clear justification for the rules, and determine the economic impacts of proposed rulemakings, including their effects on job growth, and net job creation. So many of these pieces of legislation I'm talking about, a lot of Americans might say, well, don't we do that already? Well, unfortunately, we don't. Senator Roberts has the Regulatory Responsibility for Our Economy Act, which codifies and strengthens President Obama's January 18th executive order that directs agencies within to review, modify, streamline, expand, or repeal those significant regulatory actions that are duplicative, unnecessary, overly burdensome, or would have significant economic impacts on Americans. Congressman Gibbs over on the House is Reducing Regulatory Burdens Act. It eliminates a new duplicate APA regulation that will cost millions of dollars to implement without providing additional environmental protection. On domestic job promotion, energy job promotion, we have from Senator Vitter the Domestic Jobs, Domestic Energy, and Deficit Reduction Act that would require the Interior Department to move forward with offshore energy exploration and create a time frame for environmental and judicial review. Senator Murkowski, we have included the Jobs and Energy Permitting Act, eliminates confusion and uncertainty surrounding the EPA's decision-making process for air permits, which is delaying energy exploration in the Alaskan Outer Continental Shelf. It will create over 50,000 jobs and produce 1 million barrels of oil a day. There's no one in this body that knows as much about these issues as the distinguished senator from Alaska. Senator Barrasso, again, has brought forward the American Energy and Western Jobs Act. The bill streamlines the pre-leasing, leasing, and developmental process for drilling on public land and requires the administration to create goals for American oil and gas production. The Mining Jobs Protection Act is by Senator McConnell, Inhofe, and Rand Paul, requires the EPA to use or lose their 404 permitting review authority. Under this bill, the EPA will have 60 days to voice concerns about a permit application or the permit moves forward. Any concerns voiced by the EPA would need to be published in the Federal Register within 30 days. Senator Inhofe has contributed. The Energy Tax Prevention Act prohibits the EPA from using the Clean Air Act to regulate greenhouse gases. Repeal restrictions on government use of domestic alternative fuels. Repeal Section 526 of the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007, which prohibits federal agencies from contracting for alternative fuels such as coal to liquid fuels. The Public Lands Job Creation Act, Senator Heller, eliminates a burdensome and unnecessary delay in approval of projects on federal lands by allowing the permitting process to move forward unless the Department of the Interior objects within 45 days. This will streamline the permitting process for domestic energy and mineral production on BLM lands without compromising environmental analysis. Senator McConnell has introduced the Renew Trade Promotion Authority, which would provide the President with fast-track authority to negotiate trade agreements that will eliminate foreign trade barriers and open new markets for American goods. We all know that trade promotion authority is vital to the eventual enactment of free trade agreements, and I am incredibly depressed that we would not have renewed this trade promotion authority along with the passage of the long overdue free trade agreements that we just passed through this body. The President and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have become fond of saying that Republicans have no plan for creating jobs and putting America back on a path to fiscal prosperity. Nothing could be further from the truth. As I've just laid out in the plan before us today, we have compiled many job-creating measures offered by our colleagues here in the Senate. Furthermore, since January, our colleagues in the House of Representatives have passed at least 22 job-creating bills. Guess how many of the bills that were passed by the House of Representatives have gotten consideration here in the Senate? 5. Like our plan, our colleagues in the House have focused a great deal of attention on empowering small businesses and reducing government barriers to job creation. Here are just a few of the common-sense jobs-creating measures passed by the House, none of which have been considered by the Senate. Review of federal regulations, reducing regulatory burdens, the Energy Tax Prevention Act, the Clean Water Cooperative Federalism Act, Consumer Financial Protection and Soundness Improvement Act, Protecting Jobs from Government Interference Act, Transparency and Regulatory Analysis of Impacts on the Nation Act, Cement Sector Regulatory Relief Act, EPA Regulatory Relief Act. So the next time you hear the President of the United States say that Republicans are blocking or have failed to take up or failed to have a proposal, we have proposals. Measures have been passed by the House. These proposals in this jobs plan bill deserve the consideration of this body. We need to prove to the American people that we will do everything we can to eliminate the waste of their hard-earned dollars. Enacting an enhanced rescission authority to give the President statutory line-item veto authority to reduce wasteful spending is an issue that we've been looking at for years. Why do we need to grant the President enhanced rescission line-item veto authority? According to a database created by Taxpayers Against Earmarks, WashingtonWatch.com, and Taxpayers for Common Sense, for fiscal 2011, members requested over 39,000 earmarks totaling over $130 billion. Just last December, we were forced to consider, at the very last minute, an omnibus appropriations bill that was 1,924 pages long and contained the funding for all 12 of the annual appropriations bills for a grand total of $1.1 trillion. In the short term I had to review that massive piece of legislation before it was brought to the floor, I identified approximately 6,488 earmarks totaling nearly $8.3 billion. We need an enhanced rescission act. Thankfully, the massive omnibus was not enacted, but these earmarks and the process by which they make their way into spending bills are evidence that the system is badly broken and need of reform. Mr. President, I have more to say, and I've taken too much time in the eyes of many of my colleagues, perhaps, and I want to apologize to any of my colleagues who had planned on speaking on the floor and have been preempted by my long remarks. But I feel that we have an obligation to the American people to address the issues that are of greatest concern and the greatest amount of pain to them today, and that's jobs and the economy. Jobs and the economy. I care a lot about our national security challenges, and I care a lot about what's going on in the world. But when I go home and a woman stands up at a town hall meeting with her 2 children and says, I don't have a job and I'm being kicked out of my home next week, and when we have people who are being thrown out of their houses, that there's over half of the homes in my home state of Arizona are underwater, in other words, worth less than the mortgage payments that they are required to make. When we have chronic unemployment that in some cases, such as down in Yuma, Arizona, that is well into double digits, then we have to get going on getting some jobs and the economy back on the right track. Now, I want to repeat again, and I don't mean to be confrontational with my colleagues, but we tried for 2 years when the other side had the majority in the House and the Senate, and they had passed major pieces of legislation that were advertised to get our economy back on track. They didn't. Can't we try something different? Can't we try the kinds of things that have brought us out of other recessions? Can't we ask the our colleagues in the Senate to create a simplified tax system that the Heritage Foundation says by lowering the corporate rate to 25%, the number of jobs in the U.S. would grow on an average of 581,000 annually from 2011 to 2020. Can't we look at this regulatory system which has put such a damper on small businesses and large? Can't we give American people a break from the flood of new regulations that continues to come down and is a major factor in this environment of uncertainty amongst businesses, small and large? It seems to me that the approval rating of the American people of Congress is now, the latest poll I saw, is 9%. That's something that I joke about, but it's also something that grieves me a great deal, because I believe that the overwhelming majority of the members of Congress are here and are dedicated to serving their constituents in the most honorable fashion and in the best possible way that they can according to their values and their principles. But it is a fact that the American people are very angry and they're very upset. And one of the major reasons is, of course, they have not seen progress in the economy. And that is very, very understandable. We are now seeing these Occupy Wall Street people. We are seeing the Tea Partiers will probably be rejuvenated. We're seeing expressions of anger and frustration all over the country, and it's unfortunate. But I believe that a couple of things are going to happen unless we act in a more efficient fashion that addresses the concerns of the American people, and that is, I believe you'll see the rise of a third party in this country, and I think also you will see greater and greater manifestations of opposition to business as usual here in Washington. And I'd like to repeat again, as I said at the beginning of my remarks, I am more than eager to sit down with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and come together, particularly on some of the issues that clearly we have stated on both sides that we are in favor of. Again, my apologies to my colleagues who I may have preempted their time on the floor, but I think that this issue of jobs, which we will be voting on tomorrow, is one that deserved more than passing attention. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from Connecticut.
Mr. President, I thank the Senator from Arizona for his remarks, and certainly, for me at least, he owes no apology for having spoken his mind, and I always welcome the opportunity to listen, and I have done so and am honored to follow him. Today I speak as we approach Veterans Day, and I believe this Veterans Day may be particularly significant for our nation, in part because we have the opportunity in this chamber to honor some very special veterans, the Montford Point Marines, who graced us with their presence yesterday as we celebrated the 236th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. They were present then. They were present in 1942 when they stepped forward to serve and fight for this nation. They are African Americans who fought and served for this nation at a time when they anticipated no recognition, certainly no honor. And we have the opportunity between now and Veterans Day to approve a measure that would grant them the Congressional Gold Medal, which they richly deserve. They have earned through their service. And they are the epitome of the Marines. They happen to be Marines, but of the servicemen and women whom we honor on this Veterans Day. They happen to be men of the greatest generation, the World War II generation. They are among the greatest of that generation. And I had the great honor to be with them yesterday, in fact, to be the honored guest in the Russell Building when the Commandant and I had the privilege to honor them. Their presence yesterday reminds us of our continuing obligation to all veterans and of the need to make the well-being of our veterans a priority, as I have sought to do. Indeed, my first bill, entitled Honoring All Veterans, has as its objective to leave no veteran behind. It offers a comprehensive set of measures to assure that we keep faith with every veteran who needs a job, every veteran who needs better health care or counseling or training or education. These commitments we have made as a nation to all of our veterans, and now we have the opportunity to keep those promises and keep faith with them, as we have a solemn obligation to do every day, every year, not just Veterans Day. I want to thank Senator Harkin of Iowa for co-sponsoring the legislation that I've offered, and also to thank Senator Tester, Chairman Murray of the Veterans Committee, and Ranking Member Burr of that committee for their work to address these challenges recognized by the Honoring All Veterans Act and this comprehensive measure, Vow to Hire Heroes Amendment. Truly, we should vow to hire our heroes, and we should do so, not just in word, but in deed, not just in rhetoric, but in action. And I am proud to be a co-sponsor of the important tax credit provision in the Tester Veterans Jobs Amendment for businesses that hire veterans. Helping veterans is a challenge that will require the engagement of everyone in the community, from Congress to veteran service organizations and business leaders across the board, across the country, across the state of Connecticut. At a recent Veterans Hiring Forum I hosted in Connecticut, I heard firsthand the challenges in veterans recruitment and what innovative companies like United Rentals are doing to hire skilled and talented veterans. In this symposium, in that setting, they provided an example of what we can and should do. So I see my co-sponsorship of this amendment as honoring a commitment to push for legislation to provide incentives for firms to hire unemployed veterans and to make it easier for companies to connect with veterans so they can fill some of the jobs that are now available. There are jobs available, and we should give our veterans the skills they need, skills they may have acquired in part during their service that need to be honed and expanded. And we have that opportunity, and I want to thank all of those senators for championing this measure. My own legislation, Honoring All Veterans Act, allows a veteran to take the Transition Assistance Program, known as TAP, an interagency workshop coordinated by Departments of Defense, Labor, and Veterans Affairs for up to 1 year after separation at any military facility. The bill before us makes participation in the TAP program mandatory. Low participation rates in this program are especially concerning as junior members tend to be those most in need of the services provided by TAP and the benefits available through the VA. For many skills, such as simple skills, writing resumes or interviewing, have never been needed or learned before, and not having such skills, not knowing how to interview or write a resume, puts them at a severe disadvantage when they are attempting to enter and succeed in the workplace after they exchange their military uniforms for civilian clothes. Section 222 of the Vow to Hire Veterans Act authorizes an assessment of the equivalence between skills developed in military, occupational specialties, and qualifications required for civilian employment with the private sector. I always like to say that when you call out the National Guard, you call out the best in America. When you call out the Connecticut National Guard, you call out truly the very best in America. The military recruits the most talented men and women in America to serve and then invest heavily in those skills, in their professional development, yet when they enter the civilian world, very often those skills are simply unrecognized by laws requiring separate training or licensure. And we ought to do more to recognize the expertise and experience that the military gives to these brave men and women. That's why I authorized and authored a similar provision in the Honoring All Veterans Act to ensure that civilian employers and educational institutions recognize a veteran's military training. The Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America reported, and I'm quoting, 61% of employers, 61% do not believe they have a complete understanding of the qualifications ex-service members offer. And recently separated service members with college degrees earn, on average, almost $10,000 less than their non-veterans counterparts. I applaud my colleagues for including Section 222 in the Vow to Veterans Act. It is a vital step toward helping employers find the employees they need and toward closing the income gap that exists now. The legislation before us also expands education and training opportunities for older veterans by providing 100,000 unemployed veterans of past eras and wars with up to 1 year of additional GI benefits to go toward education and training programs at community colleges and technical schools. I'm proud of the bipartisan compromise to extend this period for 1 year. I hope it would be even further broadened and extended. But this measure is a great first start toward providing skills for job opportunities that now exist and can be filled by men and women coming out of our military to civilian life. Let me just say finally again, to come back to the Montford Point Marines, I want to thank Senator Pat Roberts, who was with me yesterday at the 236th birthday celebration, and most especially thank the Senator from North Carolina, Kay Hagan, who is with us today, for her leadership on this issue. Truly, we can make this Veterans Day special. for all of us in this nation if we approve this Congressional Gold Medal to men who step forward to serve and fight when this nation failed to appreciate their service and valor. And now we have the opportunity to make good on our commitments to them as veterans, to all of our veterans in this measure. I am proud to join colleagues on both sides of the aisle in nearing now the number that is necessary to approve that measure, and I hope that we can reach that kind of bipartisan consensus on that legislation, but also on the broader Vow to Hire Heroes Act that can lead us back to the kind of bipartisan approach on so many issues that we need to emulate in this body. I want to thank my colleagues for supporting this measure, and I yield the floor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
The Senator from North Carolina.
Thank you. Mr. President, I stand today, just 2 days away from Veterans Day, to urge my colleagues to support our courageous servicemen and women, our veterans and their families, by voting for the Vow to Hire a Heroes Act of 2011. This legislation would have a tremendous impact on every part of our country, but it would be especially significant in my home state of North Carolina, the most military-friendly state in the nation. In North Carolina, we are blessed to be home to so many of our country's heroes. I don't think most people understand that nationwide military service members account for only 1% of our country's population. But in North Carolina, more than a third of our population is either in the military, is a veteran, or has an immediate family member who is in the military or is a veteran. Over 700,000 veterans call North Carolina home, and I know that makes our state stronger. And I know, because like so many North Carolinians, I too come from a strong military family that instilled in me a sense of responsibility to my community and to my country. My husband, my father, my brother are Navy veterans. My father-in-law was a 2-star general in the Marine Corps. And my 2 nephews have both served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I know, because I've traveled my state's 8 military bases, from Fort Bragg to Cherry Point to Camp Lejeune, to bases in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. I've seen up close the incredible demands placed on our military and the remarkable bravery and patriotism they exhibit each and every day. And I know, because whether I'm meeting a general, a young private, a wounded warrior, or a 90-year-old veteran traveling on one of the flights of honor that brings our World War II veterans to D.C. to see their monuments, there are certain qualities that I always recognize in those who serve in the armed forces, and these are selflessness, personal integrity, an unmatched work ethic, and unwavering courage. So, Mr. President, I take it personally as a senator for North Carolina, as well as a proud daughter, wife, sister of a veteran, when our military members and their families are hurting. And I take it personally when this country of ours does not live up to the promise we make to our servicemen and women. Mr. President, right now, our military families are unquestionably hurting. Right now, we have lapsed in our commitment to our heroes. As has been said many times on this floor, the unemployment rate among Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans is an unconscionably high 12.1%. That's more than 3 percentage points higher than the national average unemployment. That's about 250,000 men and women who have all put their lives on the line to protect our country, who are now struggling just to earn a paycheck. 240,000 heroes with irreplaceable skill sets and experience who cannot find a job. And we cannot forget that every unemployed veteran has a family who has likely spent untold sleepless nights worrying if their loved one was safe. And now, after years of selfless service, these families are forced to worry if they can pay their monthly bills, if they can even afford to keep their house. According to HUD's 2010 annual homeless assessment report, more than 1,000 North Carolina veterans are homeless and spend every night without a roof over their head. That is simply 1,000 too many. And this is not fate that we can accept for our veterans. This is not the country that we strive to be. We need to support our veterans when they make the transition from the military to the civilian workforce. We need to provide them with the training and resources they need to transfer those skills to the private sector. And we need to encourage our business owners to employ some of our country's most highly trained, highly ambitious, and highly motivated individuals. The Vow to Hire a Heroes Act does just that. It provides a tax credit of up to $5,600 for hiring veterans. And for our wounded warriors, it includes a tax credit of up to $9,600 for hiring veterans with service-connected disabilities. And it requires our servicemen and women transitioning to the civilian workforce to participate in the Transition Assistance Program, which provides services such as resume writing workshops and career counseling to help these individuals land the jobs that are available in these new jobs. And it expands education and training opportunities at our community colleges and technical schools for 100,000 unemployed veterans who served prior to September 11. Mr. President, I am pleased to say that some provisions of this legislation are very similar to a bipartisan bill that Senator Scott Brown and I introduced earlier this year. The priorities this legislation focuses on, they're not Democratic priorities and they're not Republican priorities. Supporting our veteran is and has always been an American priority. And we owe it to them, but we also owe it to our future. And I hope many of you saw the August cover story in Time magazine that described our veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan as the next greatest generation. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage you to do so. The author, Joe Klein, who I met on a military transport plane in Afghanistan, spent the past 5 years visiting with Iraq and Afghanistan veterans across the country, including 2 best friends he met from North Carolina. These friends, Dale Beatty and John Galena, whom I met last year in Charlotte, joined the North Carolina National Guard together, deployed to Iraq together, and nearly died together when their Humvee was blown up by an anti-tank mine. Dale lost both his legs and John suffered a traumatic brain injury. When a local home builders association offered to build Dale a home, Dale and John were both inspired to assist other handicapped veterans. Today, their nonprofit, Purple Heart Homes, headquartered in Statesville, North Carolina, helps build and adapt homes for service-disabled veterans. Dale and John represent, as Admiral Mike Mullen said, part of a generation who was flat-out wired to contribute, flat-out wired to serve. And as General David Petraeus told Time magazine, our veterans had to show incredible flexibility, never knowing whether they're going to be greeted with a handshake or a hand grenade. They've been exposed to experiences that are totally unique. I believe they are our next great generation of leaders. Mr. President, there are many, many more Dale Beatty's and John Galena's out there. But we cannot leave our next great generation of leaders standing in an unemployment line. We must come together and fight for our veterans and our families just as hard as they have fought for our freedoms. We must pass the Vow to Hire Our Heroes Act. Thank you, Mr. President. Note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka. We're waiting for more debate on a bill that proposes to repeal a requirement that the government withhold 3% of payments to contractors. A final vote's been scheduled on that for tomorrow. Also Thursday, another resolution aiming at rolling back government regulations, including the EPA's position on cross-state air pollution. Earlier, we spoke about this EPA resolution with the Capitol Hill reporter.
Ben Gieman, a staff writer for The Hill. What is Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul attempting to accomplish with this resolution of disapproval on cross-border air pollution?
Well, this is part of a broader campaign by some Republicans and some power companies to roll back what they believe are overly burdensome EPA regulations. And in this case specifically, this refers to a rule that EPA finalized over the summer that would require big cuts in pollution from power plants that blow across state lines in the eastern half of the country. And these are emissions that form ozone and particulate pollution. And what Senator Paul is attempting to do is use a very rarely used, or at least very rarely successful tool that dates back to the mid-'90s Contract with America, called the Congressional Review Act, and that's something that gives the Congress power to overturn agency regulations. And so the reason that that's appealing for lawmakers is because it's immune from a Senate filibuster. It just takes a simple majority. But on the other hand, there's some big drawbacks too. It's frankly a very blunt instrument because it doesn't allow for tweaks to the rule. It would just nullify it.
So why does the EPA say the rule is necessary?
Well, these types of pollutants have very, very significant public health effects, whether you're dealing with...
We are.
I'd ask that the quorum call be vacated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise today to express my strong support for the Vow to Hire Heroes Act. Very simply, it is a bill that will help our returning heroes get good jobs as they transition back into civilian life. The bill is supported by Democrats and Republicans alike. I look forward to this passage of this bill tomorrow. Perfect timing as our country prepares to honor the bravery, sacrifice, and commitment of our American veterans. Since I first walked into these chambers nearly 3 years ago, it has been a great privilege to serve on the Committee on Veterans Affairs. I'm also proudly serving on the Armed Services Committee. From these positions, I've worked on behalf of the 74,000 veterans who call Alaska home and the more than 28,000 active duty and reserve component men and women serving our great country. My state of Alaska, for all its unique geography and demographics, have the distinction as a home to the largest proportion of veterans per capita than any other state in our country. Alaska has a proud history of defending our country. This poster shows our troops preparing for battle on Alaska soil during World War II. Though many Americans still are not aware, there was a fierce fighting in the Aleutians as the Japanese launched a diversionary attack in preparation for the Battle of Midway. One of my most rewarding moments so far as a member of this body was making sure that 24 brave members of the Alaska Territorial Guard, all distinguished Alaska Native elders, finally got the recognition they earned for their courageous service to this nation more than a half a century ago. You can see by this poster again a few of them here. Long before Alaska was a state and our country was engaged in World War II, these Alaska Native heroes answered their nation's call on America's most remote front lines. In 2009, the Senate approved an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act that I sponsored with my colleague, Senator Murkowski. When President Obama signed that bill into law, 25 surviving territorial guardsmen finally received their retirement pay and recognition they earned so many years ago. I've done my level best to support our troops in other ways, including expanding services and programs for homeless veterans, including more support for women vets, expanding telehealth services for our rural veterans, supporting the post-9/11 GI Bill. This provides tuition assistance for vets and also takes into consideration living expenses so students can better focus on their education. It also allows for our service members to pass this entitlement to their immediate family. Every time I meet a veteran, I thank him or her for their service to our country. I know they appreciate that. All Americans should go out of their way and thank our veterans, not just on Veterans Day, but every day. But thank you only goes so far. It doesn't pay the mortgage or buy groceries. What our veterans really need are good jobs. The statistics are shameful. More than 1 in 4 veterans under the age of 24 are without jobs. 250,000 post-9/11 veterans are unemployed. As you can see by this chart, that's a 12% unemployment rate, and it's simply unacceptable. The Vow to Hire's HERO Act will create new direct federal hiring authority, so jobs will be waiting for our veterans the day they leave the military. It will provide tax credits for employers who hire veterans and wounded veterans who have been looking for work. It will improve the transition process. As service members leave the battlefield and enter the workforce, this legislation also expands education and training opportunities at community colleges and technical schools for 100,000 unemployed veterans who served before September 11th. It expands additional Montgomery GI benefits for older veterans for up to 1 year. Mr. President, let me take a few moments to talk about an additional challenge faced by veterans in my home state. Many Alaskans or returning warriors come home to the most remote areas of America. Alaska boasts unsurpassed beauty. It can also be a challenging and dangerous place to live. Right now, as I speak on this floor, the northwest coast of Alaska is being struck by winds approaching 100 miles per hour, a storm surge of 8 feet or more, waves up to 30 feet. Coastal erosion and flooding is certainly going to happen. If this were happening today on the East Coast of America, this storm would have some name to it, and we wouldn't be hearing or reading about it, anything else but that storm. To give you a concept of how far and reaching this storm is, imagine a storm reaching from Mexico along the West Coast up to Washington State. That's the size of the storm that's occurring right now. So if you think veterans in other parts of the United States face challenges of employment, job training, access to health care, and there's no doubt they do, you should see some of our circumstances in Alaska. Here are 2 stories about real Alaskans. A disabled Army veteran living in Kipnuk, a small Yupik Eskimo village on the far western coast of Alaska. This vet suffered a spinal cord injury in 2006 that requires yearly evaluation. He must travel to a VA hospital in Seattle to receive this care. That's a trip of thousands of miles and thousands of dollars. Additionally, for more routine illnesses like flu, he's forced to travel to Anchorage, a VA clinic there. Still a jet flight away from his home, and again, close to $1,000. Or the retired Air Force veteran who needed to have hardware removed from his wrist and shoulder following a failed surgery. The VA sent him to the hospital in Seattle, despite the fact that several hospitals in Anchorage, closer, less costly to get to, could have performed the procedure. There are many, many stories like this that I hear every single day when I travel the state. It doesn't matter where I go, one veteran or a veteran's family member will tell me a very similar story. It's why we continue to push for a piece of legislation that I've introduced, the Alaska Heroes Card. It is so simple when you look at what we're trying to do. If health care services are available closer to home than any Alaskan veteran would, then any Alaskan veteran would simply present the card at the tribal health clinic or the federally qualified health clinic and get the services. It limits their time in the air and traveling away from their families. It lowers the cost to the VA. It gives services where they need them and can get them. It's truly a win-win. More important, it allows, as I said, veterans to be with their families. Anytime, and I know, Mr. President, you've been an incredible advocate on health care issues, and when you're trying to do health care rehabilitation and services, taking someone from a rural community and then moving them into a large urban community 1,000 miles away and away from your family, the odds are the rehabilitation will go slower or the service will not be as effective. So we have to do what we can to ensure that these veterans have the service closer to their home at a lower cost, but also to their families. Mr. President, as we approach Veterans Day, I'd like to take the moment to recognize the Arctic warriors serving our country. The members of the 4th Stryker Brigade Combat Team from Fort Wainwright, Alaska, have been serving with distinction in Afghanistan since May of this year. The 4th Airborne Brigade Combat Team will deploy to Afghanistan at the end of this month for a total of more than 9,000 Alaskan-based troops on the ground there. In addition, 550 airmen and soldiers are still in Iraq today, but will be coming home by end of the year. And our Alaska National Guard units and members are in both countries, Iraq and Afghanistan. To our Arctic warriors, thank you. Thank you for your service and sacrifice to our country. And thank you to the families that are supporting our Arctic warriors as they serve this great country. So to honor them and all the brave men and women who have served and are currently serving, let's come together on the floor of this chamber. Let's put our differences aside. Let's pass the Vow to Hire Our Heroes Act and help put Americans' veterans back to work. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President. Senator from New Jersey.
Mr. President, what is the status? Are we now in morning business? I ask unanimous consent that I speak as if in morning business.
Without objection.
Mr. President, with all of the important issues we constantly face in life, none compares to our concern for the health of our children. But the health of our children depends not only on us, but on what others might be doing, like poisoning our air with secondhand smoke or deliberately fouling the air that our kids breathe. Few would stand by while a smoker puffs away that your children and your child is inhaling. And that's why we work so hard to prohibit smoking in airplanes, to keep someone else's smoke out of our children's lungs. Yet, when emissions from a power plant in one state threaten people in a neighboring state, too often nothing is done about it. And make no mistake, pollution doesn't recognize state boundaries. Communities across our country are being forced to bear the consequence of another community's polluters. And this is happening in my state, in New Jersey, where people are suffering because dirty air is blowing into our communities from out-of-state smokestacks. And we look at this horrible picture. Anything more threatening would be hard to imagine. The toxins coming out of smokestacks like these don't disappear. They typically wind up polluting playgrounds, schoolyards in New Jersey and other eastern states. In fact, a single power plant in eastern Pennsylvania is responsible for more sulfur pollution in New Jersey than all in our state power plants combined. This year, the Environmental Protection Agency took a major step toward protecting children from out-of-state emissions when it adopted the cross-state air pollution rule. This common-sense safeguard requires polluters to reduce the levels of dangerous soot and smoke that they release into the air. The rule sends a clear message to power plants in upwind states. You can no longer dump your dirty air on states that lie downwind. Unfortunately, one of our Republican colleagues has proposed an amendment to block the EPA's efforts. This misguided message would put polluters' profits before the health of our families and children, and the consequences would be devastating. Air pollution can cause asthma, heart attacks, strokes, and cancer. Long-term exposure can also damage the immune, neurological, and reproductive systems. Nationally, almost 1 in 10 children now suffers from asthma. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In some parts of New Jersey, 1 out of every 4 residents has asthma. And we should be working to make our skies cleaner for these children, not dirtier. Some on the other side say we can't afford to worry about the health of our children and our communities right now. They claim the new rule will kill jobs. Mr. President, this isn't about killing jobs. It's about saving lives, and we should not allow ourselves to be misled. According to EPA, the new rule will prevent 40,000 premature deaths and 15,000 heart attacks from taking place. The new standard would also prevent as many as 400,000 asthma attacks, improving life for children, like my own grandson who suffers from asthma. My daughter makes sure that she finds an emergency clinic before my son plays ball, my grandson plays ball, or indulges in a sport, in a match, because if he starts to wheeze, he's got problems. And we know that in my family up front and personal. My sister was on the Board of Education in a city in New York State, and she was at a Board of Education meeting, and she began to start to wheeze, and in her car she kept a small device, a little respirator. And she ran for the parking lot, didn't make it, collapsed in the parking lot, and died 3 days later. And for those who insist that we cannot have both clean air and a strong economy, I say we can't have a strong economy without clean air. And simply put, if you can't breathe, you can't work. Mr. President, the fact is many power plants, factories, and other companies are ready to work with EPA to reduce their impact on the environment. And we take the example of Public Service Electric and Gas, which is New Jersey's largest utility. PSE&G has already invested resources to reduce soot, smog, and mercury pollution by more than 90%. In the process, the company's created over 1,600 construction jobs, and that's why PSEG supports the EPA rule. Ralph Izzo, president of the company, said, and I quote him here, "Our experience shows that it's possible to clean the air, create jobs, and power the economy at the same time." The bottom line is, this rule will protect the health of our economy, our workers, and our children. So I urge my colleagues, reject this dangerous amendment and protect every American's right to breathe clean air. And with that, I yield the floor, Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland.
Mr. President, earlier today in the Environment and Public Works Committee, the President was at that meeting. Something unusual happened. We had a major bill that will extend the Surface Transportation Act for 2 years, passed by a unanimous vote, all the Democrats and Republicans joining together in order to move forward in a bill that will help create jobs. I hope we'll find the same spirit of cooperation on the legislation that's now before us. It helps create jobs for our community, and with the Tester Amendment, we have really a win-win situation. This, first and foremost, is about creating jobs. And the Tester Amendment allows us to create more jobs that will help American families, help our economy, and even help our budget deficit, because when more Americans are working, more are paying taxes, less government services are needed. All agree that we need to help our returning veterans, those that have served so well in Iraq and Afghanistan, defending the principles of our country, defending our basic freedom. On Friday, we will celebrate Veterans Day, and I know all of us will be speaking how much we appreciate the service of our veterans. Well, we need to show our appreciation not only by words, but also by deeds. And yes, we fight to make sure that our veterans have the health services that they need. We want to make sure that all of our military have the support that they need. We want to make sure that our military families are properly taken care of. But one thing we can do with this legislation is help returning veterans get jobs when they return home. The unemployment rate among our returning veterans is higher than the unemployment rates in our general community. We need to help our veterans find employment. That's one way we can really show our appreciation for the men and women who have served our nation. The bill before us with the Tester Amendment will give incentives to employers to hire returning warriors from Iraq and Afghanistan. It will expand the education and training services so that they have the skills necessary for civilian employment. It will help us deal with a chronic problem we have. Those returning veterans under the age of 24, the unemployment rate is 21%. This bill with the Tester Amendment will allow us to really do something to help our returning veterans and help our economy. But the underlying bill also goes further and helps small businesses. Small businesses are the growth engine of America. That's where job creation takes place. That's where innovation takes place. And we currently have a requirement that has not yet gone into effect that would require small businesses that have contracts with the government over $10,000 to withhold 3% of those funds in order to make sure taxes are paid. We need to repeal that provision, and this bill will repeal that provision. We should go after those who are delinquent in taxes, and we have a provision to make sure we do that. But for small business to tie up that type of capital really affects their ability to compete. It affects their ability to expand job opportunity. Repealing that provision is important to help small business, help our economy. It also would eliminate an administrative burden for a lot of our local governments. It also will make it more competitive for small businesses. The 3% withholding would affect actually the cost of production. All of that means a stronger economy, more jobs. This bill is a win-win bill. It helps our veterans with the Tester Amendment. It helps small businesses by repealing a provision that is extremely burdensome. It is fully paid for, so it does not add any at all to the deficit, and it will help us grow our economy. We should, by passing this bill, not only help our veterans, we help our small businesses, and we help our economy. I urge our colleagues to show the same type of cooperation that we did on the Surface Transportation Bill today, Mr. President, in our committee. Let's use that same spirit of cooperation to get this bill moving with the Tester Amendment. Let us pass it, send it back to the House, and hopefully we can get it to the President shortly for signature and help our veterans and help our economy. And with that, Mr. President, I would yield the floor.